Good morning and happy Monday to you, Tennessee Valley. It is a cold start to say the least. We have some of the coldest air of the season moving in. Overhead, we've been tracking, of course, this Arctic blast since last week, and it's finally here. Yesterday, we had some snow flurries in the valley, some light accumulations along the plateau in places like Tracy City, Mont Eagle, even down into the Jackson County mountains, and some of the North Georgia mountains like Fort Mountain got a little bit of a dusting as well. Higher mounts along the Tennessee-North Carolina line, several inches across Gatlinburg up through Pigeon Forge, and even I believe Boone got 4 or 5 inches just based on the webcam I was looking at. So heaviest snow amounts were along the Tennessee-North Carolina line with that northwest flow. But it's all about the coldest air of the season today. A little bit warmer tomorrow. I say a little bit, but it's still going to be bone-chilling cold. And we're also going to have an active storm track setting up to our south, and that's going to bring some winter weather to the Gulf Coast. So we'll talk about all that here. Let's take a look at those temperatures. Okay, so it's negative 18 in Bismarck, North Dakota, 2 in Omaha, 13 here in Chattanooga, and I think here in North Chattanooga it's 11 according to our thermometer, 0 in Denver. So this cold air spilling all the way down into Jacksonville and parts of the Florida Panhandle. Temperatures below freezing. So it's serious cold, but when you add in the wind, those wind chills are brutal. Look at this. Bismarck, North Dakota feels like negative 45, negative 1 here in Chattanooga, negative 14 in Cincinnati. So those northerly winds not doing anyone any justice this morning. It is just absolutely cold, and negative 4. I can't even fathom a negative 40 wind chill. So this is some serious Arctic air that's moving in locally. It's 12 in Dayton, and again, this video recorded at 7:32 on Monday morning, January 20th, just in case you're watching a little bit later. 11 in Murphy, 12 in Lafayette. So we got single digits along the Cumberland Plateau, teens here in the valley, but when you add in the wind chill, it's been a while since we've had wind chills below 0 here in Chattanooga. It feels like negative 3 in Athens, 3 in Blue Ridge, negative 13 in Altamont. So parts of Sequatchie, Bledsoe, Van Buren, Grundy, and Marion counties all have wind chills ranging anywhere from negative 5 to negative 15. So again, very serious cold air. Overexposure could lead to frostbite for long periods of time. So if you have to be outside, layer up. If you do work outside in this, again, try to take breaks where you can go and warm up, have that warm cup of coffee, that warm cup of cocoa, and just wear a lot of layers. Layers are going to be your friend on this Monday. Highs today, 28 in Chattanooga, 25 in Athens, 28 in Calhoun, only 20 in Altamont. Now keep in mind our average high right around 51 this time of the year, so we'll be anywhere from 20 to 25 degrees below that mark on this Monday. So certainly has the potential to be our coldest day so far this winter and maybe of the year, depending on how things play out the rest of the month into February before we start to close out winter. But it has been a cold January so far. That'll continue today. Highs, we'll actually go back because this is fast forwarded a little too far into the future. Let's go. So we'll look at this a little bit. Highs today, likely only to climb into, the mid to upper 20s by 4 p.m. That's going to be about our max. 29 in Calhoun, only 20 in Altamont. And then tonight we're going to fall back into the teens. So this is right around 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So make sure you're dripping those faucets, wrap those exposed pipes, because once again, it's going to be cold. Tuesday afternoon, we'll have a winter storm sliding to our south, and highs, again, going to stay below freezing. So we're looking at the potential for 72 to 80 hours below freezing here in the valley, and up to 90 to 95 hours below freezing in some of our mountain and plateau communities. And then as we get into Tuesday night, back into the teens, as we wake up Wednesday morning, 14 in Athens, 16 in Calhoun, and then getting into your afternoon on Wednesday, finally back above freezing across portions of our viewing area. So it is going to be cold, and as far as wind chills are concerned, we'll set this back for today as well. Throughout the afternoon, by lunchtime, still going to feel like 13 out there, so we're not going to see a big warm up today. And then by about 3 o'clock, wind chills closing in on the 20-degree mark in Chattanooga, which is still uncomfortably cold, and then falling back into the single digits tonight into early Tuesday morning. So today and this morning going to be the coldest we get. It's still going to be uncomfortably cold for Tuesday and Wednesday morning as well. We can actually look at Tuesday during the day. Once again, wind chill is just going to be in the 20s. So very cold the next several days. That's going to be the main story, but winter weather impacts are going to start to show up as well. Let's see if we can take a look. I mean, this is unusual. So south of I-20. I mean, we're talking moderate to major impacts from Houston to Baton Rouge to New Orleans, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, maybe even Jacksonville. The Florida Panhandle could pick up snow. Mobile, Alabama, Pensacola, Florida, areas that are more accustomed to hurricanes than winter weather. So this is an unusual storm. Has it happened before? Yes. I lived in Mobile for 4 years back in 2015 to 2019, and one time it snowed. It was December 8, 2017. It snowed about an inch in Mobile, and parts of the Florida Panhandle picked up upwards of 2 inches. So it has happened before. Had some winter storms that far south, but the issue is they just don't get a lot of it. So they have no cold weather infrastructure to deal with cold weather for a prolonged period of time, and especially winter weather. I mean, even here locally, it's a struggle because we don't get it all that often, especially in Chattanooga and some of the surrounding valleys. But here's what we're looking at. So Tuesday and Wednesday, some of this breaks out early Tuesday morning, maybe even later tonight across southeast Texas. It's going to impact the Gulf Coast, accumulating snow from Houston to Pensacola, and light snow could sneak into North Georgia. And I'm showing you all this because it could impact some of our viewing area, and it's interesting. I mean, snow on the Gulf Coast, palm trees and snow, that's strange, right? But as we get into this afternoon, storm system is going to start to take shape. Some of that snow and ice begin to break out as far south as Houston and maybe even Corpus Christi. This is our in-house model. Look at that. I mean, that is bizarre looking. Galveston, Beaumont, Victoria. And if you recall back in 2004, some of these areas like Victoria, Corpus Christi, Galveston got a white Christmas. So it has happened before. These are just rare events. And then by 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning, snow into Jackson, Mississippi. Heavy snow potentially across southern Louisiana. So we're talking this I-10 corridor from, let's say, Lake Charles to Lafayette up through Baton Rouge, Slidell, New Orleans. Somewhere could get 10 inches of snow. It's going to be a possibility, which is crazy to say. And look at this, almost to the mouth of the Mississippi. We're talking snow as we get into Tuesday. So we're talking New Orleans, Houma, Gulfport, Pascagoula, up through Mobile. And then as we look at the northern extent of this, we got some of that snow trying to show up just south of Birmingham. But here's our viewing area. A couple hundred miles to the south, some of that snow starts to take shape. Some of it tries to sneak to the north. So by about 3 o'clock, Rome, Calhoun, Canton, Ellijay, maybe it gets that far north. Again, if the storm system develops and it starts to spread moisture further to the north into this Arctic air mass, we're going to have some high snow ratios. So typically, for every inch of rain you get 10 inches of snow. For this Arctic air mass, this would be a lot fluffier snow if it were to snow. So we're talking maybe 15 inches of snow per 1 inch of liquid content. We're obviously not going to get that much if we get any at all, but that's just some of the snowfall ratios that we could see with this just because of this Arctic air. Atlanta could get some snow, LaGrange, Peachtree City, and look at this. You don't see that often. Pensacola, 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, potentially getting some snow. Panama City, freezing rain, sleet. Tallahassee. I mean, this is just something you don't see that often. Dothan, Alabama, Albany, Georgia, Atlanta, and then maybe even up into South Carolina getting some of that snow. But notice there's just going to be a fine cutoff, and I don't think, many of our communities will get it unless something drastic changes and we get a surprise snow. But I don't know about that. Typically when we have these Arctic air masses in place, the air is very dry, and that's what we have right now. Dew points are low, temperatures are low, still in the low teens here. But then this starts to take shape late Tuesday across coastal Georgia, up through Charleston and Myrtle Beach. Columbia potentially getting a little bit of snow, and then by early Wednesday morning this starts to move offshore, and that's pretty much going to be that with that system, and we'll have dry conditions. But again, very abnormal little setup here we have for parts of the Gulf Coast. So again, this is the European. So we get into Tuesday. This has this extent of the snow trying to sneak up into North Georgia. So Calhoun, Ellijay, Blue Ridge, you might get a little bit of flurry activity tomorrow. The further north you go from Chattanooga, Athens, I highly doubt it. Starts to spread in across portions. Again, Florida Panhandle showing the same thing. And then into the Carolinas before moving out early Wednesday morning. So that's just the European look. GFS is pretty similar. It actually has the moisture a little further to the south, maybe sneaking up to I-20 in Atlanta. Lighter stuff into the Carolinas before kind of fizzling out and turning more of an ice event into parts of North Florida. So strange event nonetheless, but it's certainly worth talking about. Snow potential with the European model, maybe some light accumulations up towards Atlanta, but notice how Chattanooga stays in the clear this go around. 4 to 6 inches across southern Louisiana, Houston, 2 to 4 across Mobile, Alabama, South Alabama, central and southern Georgia, coastal parts of South Carolina. So we're going to get some really cool video from this, I think. I have friends that live in Mobile and New Orleans, and I'm going to see if they'll send me some video, because it's always interesting to see these southern cities with snow falling, because it's just so rare to see. Here's the GFS. Again, a little bit lighter amounts in spots, but you also have a heavier swath like southern Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida. I mean, somebody somewhere is probably going to get 8-9 inches, and it's probably going to be southern Louisiana, maybe even southeast Texas. So again, I don't see the moisture getting far enough north, but even if we get a light dusting to a couple hundredths of an inch or tenths of an inch of snow across North Georgia, with that Arctic air mass in place, everything's frozen, so it would cause some travel issues. So we'll watch that closely. It is possible it sneaks a little further to the north, but I mean, just looking at the ensemble guidance, probability of 1 inch of snow really ends right around Atlanta. So south of I-20 going to be your best shot. Along the Gulf Coast, again, very rare to see a map like this, but about a 90 to 100% chance of up to 1 inch of snow for portions of southeast Texas, southern Louisiana, south Mississippi, southern Alabama, Florida, and central Georgia, south central Georgia, I should say. And with the GFS, it's lower probability, but still, southern Louisiana, southeast Texas going to be probably the sweet spot for all of this. Plus, there's going to be an icing threat for Jacksonville, Tallahassee along I-10, and then moving up 95 through Savannah. So it's a strange storm, and this will cause a lot of travel delays across the deep south and Gulf Coast region. Now, for us, if you wanted to see snow, probably just not going to happen. There's going to be some flurries, I think, around especially North Georgia. But if this breaks out and the moisture shields a little further to the north, we may have to tweak the forecast. But I'm only putting about a 10% chance of some flurries here in Chattanooga, with maybe a 20 to 30% chance the south of Dalton into Calhoun, maybe Lyerly down towards Tryon. But again, a low-end chance, but it is something worth watching because it is unusual. But the big story for us in our coverage area, of course, is going to be the cold. This morning, the coldest it'll be all week. Tomorrow morning, still going to be very cold. Overnight lows in the teens. So we're going to keep it in storm alert weather mode just so you're prepared. Make sure you're staying warm, heating your house safely, checking on your friends and family. I know we had some power outages in Bradley County earlier. If your power goes out, you want to have that secondary heating source, but you also want to do that safely. Again, if you have a space heater, keep it away from anything. You want to put it in an open space. Make sure you have the smoke detectors and the carbon monoxide detectors going, and they have fresh batteries, and just try to stay warm over the next couple of days. Now, fortunately, we do start to come out of this Arctic chill by the end of the week, and by Sunday we could have some rain showers. But again, still watching Tuesday. I'm going to see what that winter storm does along the Gulf Coast. But if you have friends and family down there, check in on them. Make sure they're ready for this, because it is going to be impactful for us. It's going to be cold, but that's really all I had today. I just wanted to kind of give you guys an update. So stay safe and enjoy your week.